All right, hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am really interested for the conversation that we are going to have with today's video. We are going to be talking about Taylor Swift, and we in particular are going to be focusing on an article that was released by Anthony Fantano. Now, you may know Anthony because of his YouTube channel, Fantano, where he reacts and reviews music. He also released a video about the article as well. So basically, the entire piece is about Taylor Swift being a coward. And for context, it focuses specifically on the fact that there has been this entire movement by the Trump administration where they are making TikTok edits, they're making Instagram edits, they're basically really focused on their social media branding right now of videos of their pro-fascist routines that they are, currently doing in America. And they're using songs from popular artists. They're using songs from Olivia Rodrigo. They're using songs from MGMT, Metallica, etc. And the problem is, with all of these artists, we are seeing a rise of artists, trying to sue or threatening to sue or, just in some way making sure that they are detaching themselves from basically their songs being used on videos of like ICE or videos of Trump, and to show kind of where they stand, or that also they don't consent to their music being used in these specific TikToks that are truly at their core, specifically the ICE ones, all about hate and discrimination and racism. And Taylor Swift is another artist who has had her music attached to a lot of social media posts from the Trump administration. And ironically, Taylor is one of the few artists that they're using the most, and is also one of the only artists that we can really see that hasn't really said or done anything about this happening. Whereas we are seeing other artists go out of their way to try shut this down or detach from it. We're not really seeing anything from Taylor Swift's people that we may have seen in years past, quite like when she would have done her Miss Americana documentary where she was, speaking about politics and being very outspoken about the Trump administration in their first term. And I think at the end of the day, listen, I am someone who really enjoys Taylor Swift's music. I have gone to the Eras tour a couple times. I really enjoyed it. Tortured Poets Department is one of my favorite albums of all time. Speak Now and Red, also the same. I love Taylor Swift's music, and I would say that I am a fan of Taylor Swift. The thing that I can also acknowledge, quite like with a lot of the people that I am a fan of, is that they are all unattainable people. They are all, most of them, millionaires, if not billionaires, and all incredibly unethical. The older I get, the more I can realize that, and the more I can, look around and be like, none of these people are our friends. And that's okay, and that's important for us to acknowledge. And I think with Taylor Swift specifically, I think is an artist that a lot of people have a really deeply parasocial relationship with. And I don't think there's inherently something wrong with having a parasocial relationship with anyone, as long as, you're respectful about it, you can acknowledge it. It's literally just a part of human nature. Even going back decades and decades and decades of like pop culture and all the rest. But I think one thing that's really interesting about Taylor Swift is that she has a fan base that will run to her defense, unlike any other celebrity. Like with Taylor Swift, you can call her out for things, but her fan base will always have a reason as to why she doesn't do this or do that. And they will always say, well, she's too big of a star now and all the rest. And they'll always have an excuse the way that other artists' fan base don't have. And I think that that's a big reason that people have a lot of issues with Taylor at the fundamental core. So anyways, I want to go through this article and I want to see the video. And I did see this video before. I have watched it, but I haven't read the article that he has done here. So I want to go through that and we'll just have a discussion about it. And please, for the love of God, do not come into the comment section and just glaze Taylor. I'm acknowledging as well, I am a Taylor fan. Tortured Poets Department, I'm sure, is going to be my #1 most streamed album again for a second year this year. So Long London was literally my opening song on tour. Taylor is one of my most streamed artists in the entire world, but I can also acknowledge that Taylor Swift is not my friend, and Taylor Swift is also, quite like every other person that I'm a fan of, an unethical billionaire. and they are not our friends. I can also acknowledge that. And please don't come into the comments just glazing any celebrity, because again, it's so unproductive. These people are not for us, and that's okay. So anyways, Taylor Swift, if you're at home, I want to say congratulations, because you are nominated to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yes, Taylor Swift, and all of the Swifties at home as well. You have been nominated, and all of the adoring muckers. You at home and anyone in your household, anyone you have ever met that has a Google account, a YouTube account, make sure to take their phone and log on and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because we are getting so close to 500,000 subscribers. At the time of filming this, we're at 483,123 subscribers. We are getting so close. Please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And again, I want to say as well that my Patreon is 30% off still. With the code YouTubeMucker, you get 30% off. You get immediate access to me reacting to Shane Dawson's terrible documentary, goodness me, movie. The Ruby Frankie documentary, we reacted to all 3 parts of it. We reacted to Trisha's Broadway show. We reacted to Escape the Night Season 3, 2, and 1, and also Beast Game Season 1, and we're currently doing Escape the Night Season 4. So let's get to this article, shall we? And again, I hope we can have a productive conversation down below about it. All right, so Taylor Swift is a coward. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and I've got a bone to pick with Taylor Swift. Something her and her fans are sure to respond reasonably with no hatred in their hearts whatsoever. Because honestly, what I'm about to say is not said with any hatred in my heart and genuinely comes from a place of concern for our country and honestly her public image. All right, let me move this over a little bit. I don't know if you guys have noticed lately, but the worlds of music and politics these days are crossing over in ways that are tough to ignore. Yep. Absolutely. And I do think that there is elements of everything in the world that are political. I think everything is political, but I think specifically music is being used politically very much so in 2025 in ways that we haven't seen. It's being used politically to divide in ways that we've not seen this strong in a very long time. Most recently, with multiple instances of the Trump administration using pretty popular songs from chart-topping and legendary artists to push their propaganda through various promotional videos or pieces of AI slop. Also crazy to me that literally the White House official social medias are posting AI slop. We live in the worst times, by the way. Even TikToks and short-form vertical type videos. And thankfully, most of these examples recently have been met with very active and aggressive responses from these artists, rejecting the use of their hard work, their art, and their copyrighted material, and essentially hitting the administration with lawyers, with paperwork, with cease and desist to basically stop the use of their work in its tracks. And again, it is important to note that artists literally have been shutting this shit down. Like, this isn't uncommon for artists to be shutting this down. Actively, we have artists, look at this, recent examples include that of Olivia Rodrigo, MGMT, and Metallica. Artists are literally going out of their way to make sure that they're sending cease and desist and stop attaching us with this propaganda that you're doing in these videos. That is what we're seeing here in terms of why is Taylor not doing that? You know, people love to say, well, again, Taylor can't do this because safety concerns of being the biggest artist. Why would she go against, you know, the administration? But that is not what's going on here. And I hope, again, like, I'm a Taylor fan, but I can acknowledge that the reason that Taylor Swift isn't speaking out against the Trump administration, even though she did very late in support of Kamala Harris, which she was kind of forced into in the end, the reason isn't safety concerns. I hope we're all aware of that. The reason is because if Taylor Swift was to do what Olivia Rodrigo, MGMT, Metallica, etc. are doing, you know, they're putting their foot down and making it known that they don't support being attached to these propaganda videos. But if Taylor does that, she knows she risks the possibility of being able to break records, selling out arenas, because she wants to pander towards every single audience possible. And I think the problem that people have with Taylor, which is what we're getting at here, is where have her morals gone? You know what I mean? Like, where have her morals gone? Specifically, considering that it was merely years ago, Taylor Swift did Miss Americana, where it was an entire documentary about being outspoken politically and wanting to be educated politically. And it just seems that years down the line, it's more profitable for her to be a friend to all, you know? And if she wants to do that, that's absolutely fine. Obviously, she's doing it for monetary gain, in my opinion, but she's able to be called out for that. And no person is null of criticism, by the way. Specifically, one of the richest, most famous, and most popular people in the entire world. They're certainly not the only artists whose work the Trump administration has been using to normalize their bigotry, their hatred, and their fascist agenda. However, there has been a weirdly deafening silence when it's come to the usage of Taylor Swift's music, believe it or not. For example, right now on the White House TikTok account, and I've been seeing them pop up all the time of like videos of Trump, and it's like Taylor Swift's like, I'll be your father figure. And I'm like even just like videos of like the Trump administration doing things, and it's the fucking fate of Ophelia. And I'm like, okay, this is weird, specifically considering it was merely a couple years ago. Let's remember that Donald Trump spoke out against how much he like hates Taylor Swift, and Taylor Swift was like, yippee, Donald Trump doesn't like me. But then now Taylor Swift gets engaged to Travis Kelce, and Trump is like, what a great couple. What a great couple. The most amazing couple. I wish, two great people. You know what I mean? Something very strange going on. Something very strange going on. For example, right now on the White House TikTok account, there's a bunch of text and propagandist images playing against the fate of Ophelia from Taylor's latest record. And are they being kept up because promo is promo for The Life of a Showgirl? Kind of disappointing. From Taylor's latest record. And there have been other disturbing and concerning usages of tracks like Father Figure as well as Opalite, all ones from the recent album, mind you. So the usages are there, and the music is most definitely being used to push a narrative. And again, the fact that this is happening, continuing to happen, and basically just existing without being retaliated against is very curious and odd, given a couple of things. One, not only the fact that Trump has taken a very hostile stance towards Taylor Swift on numerous occasions on social media, I mean, that alone should be enough to raise this woman's, I mean, she's certainly gone after other people, either in interviews or in her own music for less. But on top of that, Taylor Swift is someone who historically is known to be pretty litigious when it comes to protecting her music and copyright. I mean, this is a woman who whipped the entire music industry into a frenzy over her not owning her own masters, and had everyone, me included, cheering her on as she went through the process of re-recording all of her older albums, only for her to end up buying the whole catalog back anyway, which means, I'm happy that happened for her. And also, I think to like the Olivia Rodrigo Cruel Summer lawsuit of it all, when Taylor Swift or her team or whatever went after, Olivia Rodrigo on like her album, where they were saying that there was similarities with Taylor's music that they wanted copyright. And I just think that the fact that there's so many examples of Taylor like fighting for her copyright, even with like other female artists in the industry, but like she's choosing to be silent right now. It's like, oh, this is something she is like taking a step back on, which is incredibly, with everything she's done, disappointing. Like incredibly disappointing. I don't know. And also as well, like not only is the Trump administration pushing out a lot of fascist behavior and stuff with the TikToks, but like even fundamentally at its core, let's kind of take it back and be like, if the Biden administration was posting with Taylor songs, I'm sure they would have shut that down, because it's like being attached to like a political, entity. They've done it unless, I don't know. It's fundamentally, it's disappointing as a fan. It is. It really is. This is something I and many other people supported her in because of the, this sanctuary of having your own music and the protection and owning and how important that is as an artist, the creative process and the necessity that she, controls her music in a way that she saw fit, which is so crazy about this. Like the full thing on Taylor's versions and getting her album back and catalog was so that she had full control over how her music was used in movies, in TV shows, in adverts. But you're silent when the Trump administration are like using it to their advantage. I don't know. It it feels strange. It feels very strange. And when I saw the video, I was like, yeah, this is weird. This is weird. Which is a position and perspective that even her most skeptical fans supported her in, despite the fact that Taylor's insistence on enforcing her copyright has been used against people as powerless as Etsy creators, as well as quietly behind the scenes making sure that her and Jack Antonoff, even St. Vincent, got credits on Olivia Rodrigo's song Deja Vu over, I guess, allegedly some similarities it had to Cruel Summer, which I've never understood, by the way, considering the amount of similarities with The Life of a Showgirl with other albums and songs. So again, Taylor is someone who historically is very sensitive to and aware of when she's being ripped off and when someone else is using her music and her ideas to their own personal benefit. And yet, as the Trump administration does it, she's standing there silent, not doing anything. And regardless of what her reasoning at this point may be, I've got to say that the outcome here is disappointing because it's inconsistent in terms of her public image and unflattering. And I just think, again, like, regardless of what excuses people are going to be able to make for Taylor here, and again, she's one of the few artists that, like, people will constantly make excuses for her. I just think the inconsistent here, you know, she has gone after less. She has gone after people for less in terms of using the music. And it's just like, I really don't understand it at all. I really don't. I don't know. Like, what's your guys' take on it? Like, what is she getting out of this? What, being able to pander towards as many audiences as possible? I guess so. I mean, I really guess so. Now, with that being said, I want to steel man my argument a little bit here because I know there'll be Taylor Swift defenders in my comments who will pretend that I'm asking for something unreasonable here and that Taylor, by virtue of ignoring Donald Trump, using her music to push his agenda, she's somehow playing 4D chess because an engagement, a response, a call out is exactly what he wants. You don't get it. Okay, first of all, in terms of what the Trump administration wants is to operate uninterrupted, and you know, that's most likely their biggest preference here, which is exactly what they're doing as long as Taylor says and does nothing. Number two, what I'm asking for and expecting from Taylor at this point is not this giant soapbox speech, though that would be nice. It's not an endorsement of everything I believe. Again, I feel like the bare minimum of hitting this man and the administration with as much lawyer power as she can would be enough. Because if you've done any analysis of how exactly we've gotten to this point as a country over the last 10 years, one of the key channels through which the Trump administration has been able to normalize its hateful and bigoted agenda against queer people, against immigrants, against minorities of all types and stripes, against women too, is funneling it through pop culture and making what they do and think and stand for seem cool by, you know, proximity of what mainstream music does or whatever. By allowing the usage of her music in this way, Taylor is allowing that process to continue. Even if we're to tell ourselves the fairy tale that Taylor's entire listening audience is nothing but women who hate Trump, when we look at the statistics, Taylor's fan base is mostly white women. White women love voting for Trump, which is exactly why the use of her music in this way must be rejected. Because if Taylor's response to this is that essentially it's not that big of a deal, there is going to be people guaranteed that will, you know, see the further empowerment of Trump as not that big of a deal, which, just to stress it, considering that he just tweaked we did the other day in support of his execution of his political opponents. I'm sure you've heard phrases used recently in the past few years, like we're living in historical times, we're crossing the Rubicon, we've gone over a certain threshold. Not to stale these takes out of anything, but we really are doing that. One of the only things we can do to prevent that continued backsliding is to openly reject and denounce this stuff whenever it pops up. And again, I'm not even looking for or expecting that from Taylor at this point, merely just doing everything she can to prevent this from furthering his agenda using her music would be nice, which is literally the bare minimum. Again, there are multiple options and approaches that Taylor Swift could take in this situation. Not all of them involve a head-to-head with Donald Trump in the octagon. No one wants or is expecting that. As entertaining as that would be with Taylor's known experience in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, she is a black belt after all. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there for now. Let me know your thoughts. And again, I think this is like perfect. You know, it's just like Taylor fans or Taylor defenders down will run with this narrative that like, well, what do you expect from her? And again, no one is expecting anything other than the same energy that she has given to less powerful people. And it's that simple. And again, it's incredibly disappointing that she and her team are not holding the same standards. It really is. It's really fucking disappointing. I just can't believe they're not even holding the same energy that they hold to less powerful people. And that's people that aren't even trying to push a fucking agenda. Again, in the wake of Taylor's version and reclaiming her masters, which everyone, again, myself included, rallied behind her with, the fact that it was all about, controlling where her music would be promoted or used, and then she's got it back, which is amazing. And she has no problem with this. Just really, I was going to say makes me question her morals, but again, the more and more, I dive into Taylor, the more I realize that, again, she is incredibly unethical. But again, you cannot be a billionaire and not be unethical. And again, people, this can be multifaceted. I'm literally saying I am a fan of Taylor's music. I loved the Eras tour. I love Taylor's music. That doesn't take away from the fact at all that, like, speaking up about issues like this. She's not your friend. You don't know her. You can call things like this out. And at a bare minimum, all people are asking is that she disavows the usage of her music being used to push fascist agendas. What are we doing that's an over-the-top thing to have to ask? It's disappointing. It really is. We've gone from Trump talking shit about Taylor to now being like, I wish her and Travis the best, and using her music all over the administration's social media. And again, considering that a majority of her fan base is white women, the fact that she is allowing this is chopped. Let me know your thoughts. I hope the comments don't just get overridden with like Taylor fans, because again, I'm one of y'all. But like, this seriously needs to be called out. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll talk about it, and I will see you in my next one. And goodbye.